It's Thursday, 24th August 2023, and welcome to this month's Water Action Platform. Now, you may remember that last year we did a broadcast focused on young people and their achievements within the water sector, and this month it's a similar theme, all around young water professionals with a particular focus on their work and achievements in emerging economies and the global south. I want to start by expressing a huge thank you to all of these wonderful organisations that continue to sponsor the Water Action Platform. We're also going to be running a poll in the chat function on this webinar on effective strategies in attracting young professionals, so please get involved and we will publish the results on LinkedIn after the broadcast. Now, I, like most young professionals, want to work and progress in the water sector to make an impact and play a part in solving the industry's biggest challenges. Water scarcity is a concern for utilities worldwide, particularly in Africa. According to the World Health Organization, water scarcity affects 1 in 3 people in the African region, and the situation is deteriorating because of factors such as population growth, urbanization, and climate change. Water and sanitation go hand in hand, and not surprisingly, water shortage is an immense threat to human health. In times of water scarcity, people are often forced to get their water supply from contaminated streams, and diarrheal disease is the third leading cause of disease and death amongst African children under the age of 5. This is a situation that public health authorities blame on poor water quality and sanitation. This brings me to introduce my first guest, Johnny Harris, a young CEO at Aramlu, whose mission it is to save water and increase access to sanitation at the same time. Aramlu is a low flush toilet that uses vortex technology to reduce the amount of water needed per flush to 2 litres or less, compared to a normal toilet which uses around 6 to 12 litres. Let's hear from Johnny now on his journey with Aramlu.
Yeah, hi Denham. So my background is in engineering. So I've sort of focused and specialised on water and sanitation. Through that process, I realised there was a need for a decent flush toilet that could give better access to sanitation, where maybe water was a prohibiting factor. So we set about a project initially with the Water Research Commission in South Africa, looking at how to make a low flush toilet with a cistern rather than just as a poor flush toilet. And during the development process, we were also exploring biomimicry and nature-based design. And through that process, we realized that nature held one of the keys for how to be efficient. So the arum lily, which is where we get the Aramlu name from. So the arum lily, it's also called the calla lily, which means beautiful. And it's essentially a vortex-shaped flower. And that vortex shape is repeated time and again in nature as the path of least resistance. So we took that into the design of the toilet. And then, at the time I was just doing engineering consulting. And we then realized that actually this was a product that needed a life of its own. And so we established Aramlu back in 2016, actually, when we were still busy with the development process. It's been a long process for us in a way, but we've basically had prototypes in testing since 2018. COVID was a blip for us in terms of going into final production. But I got a report yesterday actually that one of the initial protos is still being used and still working well. And then we've had now the final products in plastic and ceramic since the end of last year.
Oh, great. Thanks for that introduction. Now, could you please share the outcomes of the trial and any noteworthy findings that came through?
Yeah, thanks. So the trial that we did in Botswana with NextGen Water Solutions. So the objective of the trial was to save water for a school. The measure of success was going to be that we could demonstrate the toilets were flushing on 2 litres or less, or we would reduce the water consumption by 50%. So that was the objective that we set about. And then working in partnership with Louis from NextGen, we did the school installations in Gaborone. And very pleased that 6 months down the line, since the project was completed, we're seeing a water saving directly related to the toilets of 70% or more. and we've got an average flush volume of 1.9 liters. So we've kind of exceeded the expectations and the hopes of the project. The school is very happy, and they're saving. As a consequence, the school is saving significant amount each week or each month on their water bill. To the extent actually that the local water utility approached the school last week to find out what's going on, because obviously they've lost a significant part of their revenue. But it does mean that the school's now got that revenue to invest properly in what they should be in terms of education.
Yeah, wow, that's really truly impressive. Yeah, surpassing the targets by such a significant margin as well. Great. Okay, so moving forward, what are the next steps, and then the future plans for Aramlu?
Yeah, so specifically in Botswana, the next steps there, NextGen's already kind of opened doors for other school installations. So they're busy with contracts and agreements to do some new school installations. So we're expecting to see those orders come through soon. That's Botswana. And then elsewhere, here in South Africa, where we're based, we're seeing traction starting. We're listing our product now on Takealot, which is like Amazon, which is then a place for homeowners to buy the toilet, but also engaging with schools, with government, with developers to sort of to grow the market opportunity here in South Africa. So that's exciting. And then the footprint seems to be growing, outside of our borders. So a lot of interest and traction in Kenya, Southern Africa, so Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, places like that. We're seeing orders coming in, and then a bit of an outlier for us was an inquiry from the UAE, from Dubai, and it seems like there's a good place for our products also in Dubai. I think we set about with a priority of equality and sanitation, so trying to make a water-saving toilet that enabled equal access. But what we found is there's obviously two main drivers. Some people are wanting, the benefit of a low flush toilet, but some people just want to save water. And places like Dubai, which all of their water is desalinated, water is very expensive, and so there's a really strong business case for our toilets in that kind of market as well, which is exciting to see.
Now, some of you may recall Aramlu from a previous broadcast. The trial in Botswana took place through Isles Trial Reservoir, and it's been wonderful to see how the trial results have not only met but exceeded expectations, and as a result has opened doors for Aramlu to be installed at other schools in Botswana. Furthermore, as well as water savings, Aramlu also provides significant energy savings. One impressive figure from the trial was that the annual water savings that the school has achieved due to installing Aramlu has equated to a reduction of 468 kilograms of carbon dioxide emissions per year. Now we head to Brazil, where BRK, a water company in Brazil which serves more than 15 million people in over 100 cities, has been working with Transcend, which is a generative AI end-to-end solution for wastewater treatment works. Again, this is an example of a young innovator working hard to play a part in solving one of the water sector's most pressing challenges, an aging wastewater infrastructure. With the Transcend design generator, the user needs to provide information including volume and end water quality, and the software will provide the user with an engineering design. What's truly unique about it is that the power of generative AI can be leveraged to design more carbon neutral facilities. Understanding the operational and embedded carbon footprint of wastewater treatment plants is crucial for addressing their environmental impact. By quantifying emissions with a life cycle assessment, facilities can identify areas for improvement and implement targeted strategies to reduce their carbon footprint. Let's hear from Danny and Kaiki now on the Transcend and BRK partnership.
Danny, Kaiki, it's so nice to talk to you both today. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on the Water Action platform. The first thing I'd like to ask you is a little overview of the technology.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Joe. Well, I will do a quick introduction about Transcend. We are a generated design software that automates the conceptual engineering and proposal processes. So the goal is to automate the early stages of the conceptual design and evaluate a large range of alternatives for a project. We target to bring into all engineering disciplines such as process, mechanical, civil engineers together working simultaneously instead of that traditional step-by-step approach, so we can have an end-to-end product that allows the companies to make informed decisions faster.
Danny, okay, that's a great summary. Keiki, maybe over to you. What was the project or the program about from the BRK perspective?
Hey everyone, hey Joe. In 2022, BRK started using Transcend for more advanced conceptual designs, being that we mainly use it for studying different technology roads and indicators and quantities for CAPEX and OPEX, so we could check the fluctuation between them. During the first half of the year, we built confidence and trust in the platform process and calculations. Once we were convinced that Transcend delivers our need, we fully understood its premises, we started to disseminate the platform within the departments of our company. Nowadays in BRK, we started using the platform as a baseline for internal discussion and has become a part of the decision-making process in engineering.
Understand, fantastic. And what was the driver behind that? What made you want to start the project in the first place?
We wanted to start this partnership so the company could lower our engineering costs and timing when studying projects.
That's really interesting. So, Danny, from your perspective, what are the most important results or the main conclusions that you can draw from the work you've been doing? And yeah.
So BRK, first of all, has been a fantastic company to work with. They have been helping us actually to improve the platform capabilities and really understand the unique needs for my beloved Brazilian market, which is quite different than any place else on Earth, I would say. So it's been just an incredible partnership.
What obstacles have you come up against, or how did you get around glitches? What have you learnt for next time?
I would say one of the things that we learned with BRK is the building the trust. There was a lot of engineering time from our end in meetings to really help everyone understand how we do the calculations. So,
Keiki, from your perspective, what are the key outcomes, or what are the impacts it's had on business as usual?
Previously, we used to hire outsourced companies and consultants for this level of project. However, when using the platform, we have more autonomy to analyze the available options and make smarter decisions. As Danny was saying, we took a lot of time to better understand the tool and to gain expertise when dealing with the calculus. Because generally, when we input an info, we were expecting a different output, but that does not mean that the answer is wrong. We just have to understand what happened in between. Maybe we were dealing with only 10 factors, but Transcend was dealing with 50.
What I found really interesting is how Danny talked about how it's been a real partnership between BRK and Transcend. They started off with one site, and the final solution went through many iterations to get the software exactly suited to BRK's needs. Many customers might not have the patience to see something like this through, but this process has allowed BRK to end up with the perfectly tailored solution that they are happy with, and they are now going to roll out across many of BRK's sites and businesses. Now, the last two segments have highlighted the achievements of young innovators doing great work in emerging economies. However, it's no secret that there is still an issue of an aging workforce in the water sector worldwide. There's been growing concern regarding lots of skills shortages and real worry over being able to tackle the challenges that the water industry is facing, both now and in the future. Our next speaker is Neil Dott from Aquafed. Neil is passionate about empowering young people in water and sanitation, and he's going to be talking about the Careers Pathways Guidance Project and also sharing some key insights as to why there is a shortage of young water professionals and what can be done about it.
Hi everyone, this is Neil Dott from Aquafed, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Career Pathways Guidance Project. I've given you a bit of an exclusive because the results are just being done of our research, so you're hearing it first. So what is this Career Pathways Guidance? So the project deliverable is basically guidance for utility and wash service managers on how to manage young professionals' career paths. The key point about this guidance really is that it's not about policy. This is meant to be simple and easy ideas to implement on basically helping utility managers to help the young professionals that they have and guide them through their career and understand the paths that young professionals now want to take, because we've made the assumption that there's a bit of a mismatch in understanding, and we'll get onto that in just a second. So it's really about easy to implement ideas about managing professionals' career paths. So it's not specifically about the training, but taking a holistic view of what young professionals you have and where they want to go in their careers and what opportunities we can give them. Now, this is meant to be for the global south and lower and middle income countries in the global south, particularly utility managers, particularly in Latin America and Africa. And the focus, again, as I said, it's about how young professionals interact with the utility when they work for them, and what other opportunities can be given to them in the sector. Just about this project very quickly, it's actually amongst a group of projects funded by the Netherlands government on the Valuing Water Initiative Youth Journey. And these projects are all about youth involvement and participation. And Aquafed, we've decided to focus specifically about young professionals' skills and developing their careers. The current phase, which I'm about to tell you about, which again you're getting the exclusive on, is research, which we've done both with young professionals and utility managers separately. And then the next phase, which is a really, really difficult one, I think, is actually creating this guidance, and we're going to need your help. We made some assumptions on this project at the start, and it was based on a lot of feedback we've heard over a number of years and interaction with young people. It's about mobility, really, and young people and young professionals are telling us that they want to move around between jobs within the sector a lot more, get more opportunities, and not just work with the utility their whole career and have one job their whole life. They want to be able to move around within the sector. For example, in an environment and managing environment, sort of on sort of health-related jobs as well, these types of things. And that was the second point they made, that they want to move between sectors, because also young people see themselves these days as working in climate, and water is just one part of it. This is the feedback that they've heard from us. They're working in climate, in the environment, not just water. Clearly, we're getting the message from young professionals all over the world that they have new skills and new ways of working, and these are being underutilized, and that utility managers don't really understand or don't want to understand what young people bring, which will challenge that assumption. Again, you'll see in just a second. Young professionals definitely tell us they want to know they've made some tangible impact. So sometimes it's a lot smaller than being involved in a very, very big project, but we need to give them opportunities, smaller but tangible opportunities along the way in their career and in their daily path, so they feel that they've gone away and actually done something. Also, we've kind of heard that financial incentives, of course, are important, but again, these opportunities that go with a career, particularly on mentoring and forging of networks, and formal recognition of their contributions, are very, very important to young people, and we're perhaps not quite harnessing that as perhaps we could do. So let's get straight into the messages. And again, this is very raw data at the moment. This is just literally pulled off of what we've had. We will be presenting this more formally in the next month or so, but you're getting it first. So no surprises perhaps that young people are telling us, again in the global south, that there's simply not enough opportunities for them. 40% of service providers had no programs or strategies, initiatives, or any kind of efforts at all to recruit young people. 40% of service providers, which obviously includes utilities, employ less than 20% of staff under 35. So in nearly half of utilities, only 20% of their staff are under 35. And about a third of them apparently have never advertised entry-level positions at all. So it's quite some damning statistics there, I think. To continue that theme really of barriers we've just discussed, I mean, they're saying that 50% of job opportunities weren't even formally advertised. And also, as well as not giving young people the opportunities at entry level, then utility managers are also at the same time expecting them to come in with 2, 3, 4 years experience. So they're just caught in a trap, really. They can't get the jobs in the first place because they can't get the experience in the first place. Again, perhaps this isn't anything new, but it's important. And there were some questions about flexibility in terms of people moving between country to country as well, because once you've got a transferable skill, you can take it anywhere, right? but young people are saying that there's lots of barriers in their way. But I think this goes beyond our control, this particular point. Lack of training and development. Young professionals, they said that they were saying that there's quite a lot of them working in different types of roles in utilities. So that was good news. I think the story isn't completely bleak. Utilities are recognising the types of skills that young people bring, but a third of them said they weren't satisfied with the development and the training and the capacity building of them. And a lot of them were saying that these kind of training programs what do exist, they're just reserved for the top management, and there's nothing there for young people at all. So overall, really, we're feeling there's a very strong message that we just are not attracting the best young talent. And that was the assumption at the beginning of the project. And I think the researchers sadly proved it. We've got 60% of our young professionals who answered this survey. They're looking for work. I mean, even if they're in the job, they're looking for work because they're unhappy. And some of them have had to go self-employed, and they don't want to, actually, which is interesting. They don't want to. So this questions that idea about mobility a little bit, and particularly in the global south. Young people have been saying to us, look, actually, this mobility thing is great, but actually we just want to have a job in the first place, and a secure job that where we're treated properly. So I think that's a very, very important message for us to take on board. So just a quick word about the next phase. This is important. We will be publishing the research on the 7th of September. The SWA Sanitation and Water for All Partnership will be hosting 2 webinars, one in Latin America, one Africa focused, to communicate the results. But really, the hard work starts between September and it goes on to December, when we are creating this guidance. And these are big questions for us on how we're going to do this and find something that's really, really relevant for utility managers themselves. And because, again, the focus is on easy to implement ideas. So this is where I'm going to need you, all the viewers on the platform. I'll be coming back to you because we want to kind of design and test ideas with you over the next 3 months of what this guidance will look like. So thank you for listening. I know I've spoken very, very quickly and just taking you a very quick rush through, but I really wanted to give you, our Utilities and the Water Action Platform viewers, the kind of exclusive on the data. So thank you very much.
Now, more than ever, young professionals like myself want a purpose. I believe that there's no better place to create beneficial change than the water sector. And as Neil's mentioned, if these jobs were better advertised, the sector could really attract the best young talent, because people do genuinely want to work in an industry where they have the ability to make life-changing impacts. I'm really looking forward to seeing the outputs from the Careers Pathways Guidance Project, and to help Neil on this journey of attracting talented young professionals, then please reach out to Neil on his email address shown on the screen here. And now we have our final speaker on this month's broadcast, our sector expert, Ashton Busani. Ashton is an expert analyst at Green Cape, as well as non-executive director at the Water Institute of Southern Africa. Aside from this, he's also the vice chair on the IWA Young Water Professional Steering Committee. I think it's safe to say that as a young professional that has achieved so much in the sector, his advice and messages are well worth listening to. I started by asking Ashton about the main challenges and obstacles he's faced as a young professional working in the South African water sector.
I will share just 3 or 4, challenges that I think are the big ones or the main ones for me. One, I think, is lack of inclusivity. I think as youth, we are generally not, included, or we don't have a seat in the table of voice, in the sector. So this is generally a problem, because you don't get the opportunities. And most of the times I'll say youth are being viewed as, distractors, or, a source of, chaos, so we're never taken seriously, and it's sometimes because of the things that have happened in the past or the way that we as youth have conducted ourselves. So I think that's one major problem that we face. Secondly, there's the issue of limited, networking opportunities. So, as a young person, you need to start building your relationships, especially professional ones. And there isn't much, of opportunities for that, so there's a lack of that, or I can say it's limited. And you generally need someone who will hold you by hand and, introduce you to their own networks, and also allow you, to make your own professional relationships. So networking opportunities are very scarce. You're stuck at school or you're early career researcher, so you don't get to be known and to speak to the people. You don't have a name yet, so you need someone to help you with that. Thirdly, I think is the issue of insufficient job security and benefits. So there are instances where most of the early career jobs, they are contractual. You have a 3-year contract or something for 6 months. It's internship, it's graduate trainees, and then things like that. So there is a lack of job security and also benefits. I mean, we would like to start building into our pension, like to access all the other benefits, medical aids and things like that. But those are not there, in the early days. So maybe lastly, I'll share something along the side of limited access to education and training. So some of the jobs that we're involved in, I mean, innovation space, green economy space, these are generally unknown, and in an African context, you don't get opportunities to learn or to be educated about these things. So it's basically problematic, and you end up learning on the job because you do the traditional degrees, that are normal. And sometimes our society, social dimensions or, differences or cultural constraints, people do not know about these typical jobs. So they don't encourage you to take such a job. When you tell someone that to become a technology consultant, for example, it's gibberish to them because some that is unknown and that is unheard of, But if someone has been an engineer, a lawyer, it makes sense to them because they're used to these careers.
Some key takeaways there from Ashton: lack of inclusivity, not being heard, not being taken seriously. Ashton also echoed points that Neil made earlier about there simply not being enough awareness about the jobs on offer, and that when a young person does start working for a utility, there's not enough adequate training and capacity building, and these resources are often prioritised for top-level management. I also found the comment that Ashton made about young people being branded as destructors and chaos makers quite bold, so I wanted to ask him why it is that he thinks that young people have this label.
Alisha, it's an issue of being able to get the best out of young people, So I think at the moment it's because of the history of South Africa, beginning from in 1976, when you celebrate the June 16 or the Youth Day, it's all about the youth, standing against the government of the day, and they had to stand and say, no, we can't take this anymore. The model of education to be Africans wanted to be inclusive and things like that. Come to 2015, thereabout, there was the fees must fall, the roads must fall protests. Young people stood and said they want free, decolonized education. So there's always been a lot of demands, and those kind of cries or, standings by young people, for their rights, it always comes with distraction. But I must say that, young people, can be mentored. Young people can, be channeled in the right direction. So that energy that they have, that zeal that they have, someone can actually use it in a positive manner. So young people are very tech savvy. Young people love technologies, and we need to adopt technologies. And they are the key, to us as the sector in South Africa to adopt new technologies because they are very well attuned to technologies. So if we can use young people, as a way, maybe talking about digitalizing the water sector, young people are the key to that because they love technology, and they are easy to adapt. If you look at a young person, almost 90 or 95% of young people in South Africa have got a smartphone, so I think, if you hire young people, you are actually enhancing or, and ensuring that the organization, the sector as a whole, there's diversity, there's an inclusive workforce, and there'll be creativity, and problem-solving skills are likely to be enhanced.
It's clear from Ashton that young people are needed to solve South Africa's pressing challenges, and it's a matter of empowering youth to be change makers rather than chaos makers. I'll close off our chat by asking Ashton to say a few parting words of wisdom to young professionals looking to make a meaningful career in the water sector.
I think, it's building professional relations and growing your network. I think sometimes the young people, we keep to ourselves, because I'm young, nobody knows me, I'm just going to be stuck behind the computer and do my work. They will see me because I'm hardworking. Sometimes hard work is not enough, and brilliance is not enough by itself. So I think young people have to be intentional about getting to know, their fellow peers in the sector, and they should focus on forming, solid and sustainable professional relationships. So I think this is very key. I mean, one of my challenges that I said earlier, it was the issue of, having a network and being able to access, certain individuals in the sector, and getting a mentor for yourself, to take you forward.
I can completely resonate with a lot of what Ashton has said, particularly around where he mentioned that as young professionals, we often think that our hard work will speak volumes and that will be more than enough. But the reality is that your network is a huge part of growing professionally, and asking for help and guidance is encouraged. There are many mentorship and training programs available, but one that I wanted to mention is the Veolia Online Workforce Training, which is free and covers many utility operations. For more information, please visit the website shown on the screen. With that, we come to the end of this month's broadcast. I once again would like to thank all of our contributors and sponsors shown on the screen. Next month's Water Action Platform will be hosted by Karen Georges. It will be held on 21st September at the usual times, and the lineup includes the return of our debate feature, Both Sides Count. We hope you can join us, and until then, keep asking questions, keep sharing, and keep safe.